Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the material you're curious about, and we explore it together, pulling out the crucial insights so you can really get a handle on what's going on.
Yeah, digging into the core ideas.
Exactly. So for this dive, we're looking at some excerpts from the YouTube channel Alan Weller. Now, what's pretty interesting here is how it combines the visuals on Alan Weller's channel with narration by Ajahn Sujin, who's a Thai Buddhist teacher.
That's an interesting mix. The visuals and the spoken teachings together.
Right. It's this unique pairing we're going to delve into. Our mission really is to understand the core teachings presented, focusing specifically on their perspective on, well, the nature of reality.
Big topic.
Big topic. And hopefully we can make these potentially, quite dense philosophical ideas a bit clearer and more engaging for everyone listening.
Yeah, it's quite a compelling combination, isn't it? The visuals can offer one layer, maybe grab your attention, and then Ajahn Sujin's narration brings in the deeper conceptual stuff. It kind of invites you to engage on multiple levels.
Okay, let's jump right in then. There's this central idea that just keeps popping up. The paramount importance of the present moment.
The now.
Yeah. One of the videos flat out asks, is this moment true? And the narration says, what is true is this moment true. So if there's no understanding of this moment, they will never be the understanding of any other moment at all. It sounds like everything kind of hinges on this instant.
Absolutely. The principle here seems to be that, okay, yeah, every moment feels unique, different things are happening, but fundamentally there's a basic nature to experience itself.
Okay.
And if you can truly understand that nature right here, right now, then you've basically got the key to understanding any moment, past, future, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, as the narration puts it, fundamentally, it's exactly the same.
That makes a certain kind of sense. Like, if you want to understand how a car engine works, you need to grasp combustion. Right?
Yeah.
That applies no matter which car it is.
Good analogy, yeah.
Now, the video also talked about the act of seeing in this present moment. It's described as, okay, real, true, present, but also as no I. That's where it gets a bit, well, counterintuitive for how we normally experience things.
Yeah, that brings up a really important distinction they're making about perception. In that immediate raw act of seeing, as they describe it, there's just the sensory input, the visual data hitting the eye.
Right.
There isn't like a separate solid self or ego doing the seeing in that split second. The narration clarifies, seeing can see only that which is seen now only, meaning right then, there's no room for thinking about it or labeling it.
Oh, I see. So thinking about what you saw or naming it chair or whatever, that comes after the actual raw seeing.
Exactly. That's a subsequent mental process, not the pure act itself.
So it's about that initial, like, unfiltered sensory flash before our mind jumps in, like maybe a baby's first glance at something.
That's a helpful way to think about it, yeah. And what's always happening, they stress, is that each of these present moments is just gone, fleeting. The video points out each moment is different by conditions unknown.
Conditions?
Yeah, these ever-shifting conditions dictate what actually arises in our experience. So seeing, for instance, is conditioned by, well, your eye working and whatever light or shape happens to hit it at that specific micro moment.
Okay. And the narration specifically says that what is seen in that first instant isn't like a whole object like window or chair. It's just whatever visual stuff is present then.
Precisely. It's a real deconstruction of how we usually think we perceive things. So from this viewpoint, life just unfolds as this constant stream of fleeting experiences, these momentary objects, whether we consciously label them or not.
Yeah.
And one video, life each moment to what? Kind of prompts us to think, well, what's the point of all this moment-to-moment experiencing? Suggesting the point should be to gain insight into this very nature of reality itself.
And these moments aren't static pictures, right? The video only now really hammers home how fleeting they are. It says they so very rapidly just appear and disappear. Each one pops up because of certain conditions, fades away, and it's never going to happen again in exactly the same way. Like that old saying about not stepping in the same river twice.
Exactly like that. And this leads us straight into that core Buddhist idea of impermanence. What we normally see as stable things, enduring people, even our own feeling of being a continuous me, are actually, according to this teaching, just incredibly fast successions of these tiny momentary realities. It's the sheer speed, the arising and falling, that creates the illusion of solidity and permanence for our minds.
Wow, okay.
The video, not as it is, touches on this, saying that what looks like some and someone is really just a moment of a reality conditioned to arise.
So even that deep down feeling of being a continuous me, the one having all these experiences, That's also part of this constant
That's
flux.
the implication, yeah.
Which ties into that whole no self idea, anatta,
Yeah.
which is like a massive concept in Buddhism. The video, the cause of all the difficulties in life, says that ultimately there's no self, no thing to be found within these moments. But it feels so real. How do we square that feeling with this teaching?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Our default mode, our habit, is to grab onto thoughts, feelings, sensations, and build this idea of a solid, lasting self.
Right. I am seeing this. I'm feeling that.
Exactly. But if you investigate really closely, any moment of experience, say, seeing, you just find the seeing and the visual input.
Mm-hmm.
There's no separate, unchanging seer entity behind it all that exists independently. The difficulties in life from this perspective come from clinging to this illusion of a permanent self and permanent things. We want things to stay, we want ourselves to stay, but everything is inherently changing, and that mismatch causes suffering.
It's a really fundamental shift in perspective then, from seeing a world of solid things to seeing just a dynamic flow of momentary experiences.
Yes. And the videos really stress that understanding this isn't just about, getting it intellectually.
Right.
The video, listen again and again, emphasizes needing to hear it, consider it, repeatedly. It's not like reading a manual once and you're done. Understanding has to develop.
So it's a gradual cultivation.
Exactly. Cultivating what they call right understanding. So that's presented as the key to dismantling ignorance, attachment, and our habit of misinterpreting reality of, as they put it, taking what is not there as still there.
Taking what is not there is still there, like holding on to old ideas or past hurts.
Yeah, or projecting permanence onto things that are fleeting. Think about how much energy we spend clinging to opinions, identities, expectations. Understanding impermanence isn't just an intellectual idea. It's supposed to be liberating. It frees up that energy.
And this right understanding, it's not something we can just force, is it? The video Understanding is Never Grim says it unfolds kind of gradually, naturally, by its own condition. It leads to letting go of ignorance.
Right. It's not about willpower in that sense.
Yeah. It also makes this interesting point. While understanding itself can't, enjoy impermanence because there's no thing there to do the enjoying. A kind of joy or ease arises with understanding as we release that tight grip on things.
Precisely. The joy isn't about celebrating that things disappear, but it's the relief, the liberation that comes from seeing things as they actually are. When you really get that things are changing, you naturally start to loosen your grip.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we cultivate this right understanding? The videos seem to outline a process. First, you hear the truth.
Right. Listen to the teachings.
Then you carefully consider it.
Mull it over, related to your experience. That's called parti.
And ultimately, you reach direct understanding. They call it pati-pati. And the video, to reach a particular object, clarifies this isn't just sitting meditation necessarily.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Pati-pati is the direct understanding of the dhammas, the fundamental realities. And you get there through that careful consideration of the parti.
Dhammas, like the basic building blocks.
Exactly. Think of them as the fundamental constituents of experience. A moment of seeing, hearing, feeling, a thought, anger, kindness, just these momentary phenomena. Direct understanding means knowing that reality, seeing directly as it is, as just a momentary occurrence, not as a concept, not as a story about seeing.
So it's like tasting the lemon directly, not just reading the word lemon.
Perfect analogy. That's it.
And the point of listening really drives it home. It says the whole point of listening to these teachings, watching Alan Weller's channel with Ashar and Sujin's voiceover, is to understand what's actually happening right now. So we can let go of those illusions of permanence and self that cause us so much trouble.
Exactly. It's this ongoing cycle. Hearing, considering, looking at your experience, hearing again, that gradually chips away at the ignorance and leads towards that direct experiential knowing.
The video, What Is There in a Moment, seems to encourage just that repeatedly looking what is actually here right now, to see it's just a real momentary experience, no fixed me in it. Okay, now there's another concept introduced, effort, or virya. The video, Right Effort, makes a distinction between wholesome effort, kusala, and unwholesome effort, akusala, which is interesting because we usually think effort is just good, try hard.
Right. That's a key insight they offer. The difference is all in the motivation. Effort that's driven by, wishing things were different, wanting something for yourself, that feeling of, I need to achieve this, that's generally seen as unwholesome, akusala virya,
Why unwholesome?
because it's usually tangled up with attachment, wanting something you don't have, or aversion, pushing away something you don't like, and the whole illusion of a permanent self doing the striving.
Yeah.
It's that kind of effort that often just leads to more stress,
Right.
more dissatisfaction.
So constantly pushing for a different outcome or really desperately clinging to our goals, that might be unwholesome effort.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereas wholesome effort, kusala virya, is described as arising more spontaneously. It happens in moments when the mind is already in a good place, moments of kindness, generosity, understanding. It's like a momentary energy that isn't driven by ego or that feeling of, I need to make this happen. The video suggests that true understanding naturally leads to right effort without all that forceful striving. It's more like a natural pull towards what's beneficial.
That's almost the opposite of how we're often told to achieve things. Less grit, more understanding.
Kind of, yeah. It suggests a path where the effort flows more naturally from insight rather than sheer willpower against resistance.
Okay. And finally, the videos touch on, well, how should we live with this understanding? Live each moment to what? It contrasts just living to enjoy stuff with living to understand the truth of each moment.
Yeah, this brings us to a really profound point. It's not saying enjoyment is bad, not at all. But it suggests that understanding the fundamental truth, the impermanence, the lack of a fixed self in each moment, offers a deeper, maybe more sustainable, more liberating way to navigate life.
How so?
Well, if you recognize that what appears right now is real in this moment, but it's constantly arising and passing away, you're less likely to cling desperately to the pleasant stuff or fight bitterly against the unpleasant stuff. That clinging and fighting is where a lot of suffering comes from. Understanding can free you from that cycle.
So to kind of wrap up our deep dive into the Alan Weller channel and Asharn Sujan's narration, the key really is the present moment. That's where reality unfolds. And that reality is defined by constant change, impermanence, and this idea of no self, no fixed independent entity experiencing it all.
Right. Those are the core insights.
And getting this understanding isn't just intellectual. It takes repeated listening, considering, and eventually leads to a direct experiential knowing.
Yes, that pati reach through parties' careful consideration.
And even effort, Virya, is reframed. True, wholesome effort arises naturally from understanding, not from ego-driven striving, leading, hopefully, to a more liberated way of just being in each moment.
Exactly. By really contemplating this impermanent, selfless nature of reality, as it's presented through, Alan Weller's visuals and Asharn Sujan's teachings, you, the listener, can start to look at your own experience through a different lens.
Yeah. And with that in mind, maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. How might a growing awareness of this impermanent and selfless nature of your own moment-to-moment experience, inspired by these ideas from Asharn Sujan, how might that subtly shift things for you?
Good question.
Could it change how you deal with relationships, maybe, how you react to challenges, or even just that deep-down sense of who you think you are? Something to reflect on.
Definitely food for thought.
We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Maybe revisit the Alan Weller YouTube channel, let these concepts sink in a bit more. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.